So there are a ton of disturbing Easter eggs that can be found in video games. But what about disturbing hidden details? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 10 of the most disturbing hidden details found in video games. Now, it's important to remember, something that may be disturbing to me may not be disturbing to some of you. I mean, it's good to be different. So if you can think of a disturbing hidden detail that would have been perfect for this video, then let me know in the comments. Oh, and as things stand, we are just 69 thousand subscribers away from reaching the holy grail of 1 million subscribers. So if you could help me out and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. Right, let's begin today's video with one of the most underrated games of the last console generation. Days Gone is one of those games that just didn't seem to click with the people that hand out review scores. But for the people who actually buy and play games, Days Gone is brilliant. I mean, ultimately, it is just an open world zombie game, something that we aren't short of in 2025. But Days Gone just feels so good to play. Of course, as is the case with most zombie media, the zombies, or freakers as they are known in Days Gone, aren't the real monsters. That title belongs to your fellow man. There are plenty of human enemies who would love nothing more than to stick your head on the nearest pike. But there are also some human enemies who actually worship the Freakers. The Rippers are a cult that worships the Freakers, and that can lead to them doing something pretty disturbing. If you are fighting a Ripper and a Freaker is nearby, this will happen. So the Ripper will stop fighting and sacrifice itself to the Freaker, which is pretty bleak. I mean, it is worth mentioning that the Rippers are known to indulge in recreational drugs, including PCP and bath salts, which may explain their behaviour. But still, this is disturbing. Now, when you think of disturbing, I'm guessing that the Sims games aren't the first things that come to mind. I mean, the games are a pretty chill experience where you can live the life that you've always dreamed of. Or you can kill your sim off by neglecting them. It's your call. Well, there is one property in The Sims 4 that is hiding a very disturbing secret. The apartment at 1313 21 Chic Street seems normal enough. I mean, the decor may not be up to your standards, but it's The Sims. You can decorate the place however you like. Though you may want to leave that rug where it is. So underneath the rug is the chalk outline of a dead body. The fact that you might have actually liked the rug and just left it there without knowing what was underneath makes this even worse. Now, if there's one thing that I love more than Easter eggs or hidden details, it's dogs. Whether it's in movies, books or games, if I see or know that a dog has come to harm, I don't like it. Luckily, this next detail doesn't require us to harm a dog, just its human owner, which is perfectly fine with me. In The Last of Us 2, you kill a lot of people. And I do mean a lot. By the end of the game, Ellie/Abby will have slaughtered a small town's worth of enemies. But it's always worth remembering that the people you kill have family and friends too. And in some cases, even pets. If you kill an enemy who had a dog in The Last of Us 2, this will happen. So the dog will try and wake its owner up, with obviously no luck. The sound of the dog whining whilst trying to lift its owner's arm up is really sad, and because of my love of dogs, pretty disturbing. Now, when a developer wants to throw loads of human enemies at you, but doesn't want you to feel any guilt for killing them, they usually turn to Nazis to use as cannon fodder. I mean, no one feels guilt for killing Nazis, and in Sniper Elite 4 you can take out a whole bunch of Nazis and revel in the gory kill cam that comes with your long distance kills. The thing is, you can actually use your binoculars to tag enemies in Sniper Elite 4. And in doing so, you can learn a little bit about each soldier. Most of the time, this information is useless, but if we take a look at this soldier, we can see that his main concern is that he will leave his child orphaned. Now, it's up to you what you do with that information, but the developers knew exactly what they were doing, telling you this before you took a shot. Now, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I really hate being sick. When I say sick, I mean actual vomiting. It's just not a nice experience. If you're like me, then I'm guessing that you do everything you can to avoid vomiting, and that may mean avoiding certain foods or sometimes even certain smells. Well, in Mortal Kombat 11, Rambo has a move that lets him pick up an insect off the floor to regain some health. The thing is, like all good things in life, eating bugs should only be done in moderation, as if you eat too many bugs, this will happen. So Rambo will be sick after eating one too many insects. Oh, and for some reason, if you eat another insect after being sick, you'll be treated to this gratuitous slow motion close-up of Rambo enjoying his favourite snack. Now, as someone who has been fired from a job before, and knowing how that made me feel, this next detail is very disturbing. In the end of an era mission in Hitman 3, you can fire a guard who you don't actually need to fire.
Jeremy Bolt, I regret to inform you that Code 41 is now effective for your employment status. Thank you for your service.
The thing is, actions do have consequences, and you can actually find the guard calling his mum to tell her the bad news.
Mom, it's Jerry. I think I've just been fired. I have no idea. I thought it was going really well. I like it here. I can't believe it. But who, though? Friend. Oh, you mean Vincent? Yeah, I'll go see him then. Okay, I'll call you later.
Looking for someone to turn to, the fired guard tries to speak to a friend who isn't very comforting.
I have to tell you something. Don't know how to say it, really. I mean, I can hardly believe it's true myself.
Yeah, you were fired. I heard something about that.
You know? What did you hear? Did I do something wrong?
No idea.
It just makes no sense. I like it here. You know, I put in a real effort. My friends are here. You're here.
Yeah, well, I suppose so.
It must be some mistake. We'll stay in touch, though, right? You and me?
It's kind of awkward with these hours. Unpredictable. And you know, household logistics, buying groceries, feed the cat. There's just a lot to see to.
Yeah, but you're my buddy. Let me have your number.
I can never remember my own number. I tell you what, give me yours, and I'll be in touch when I get a free spot in the calendar, huh?
Okay, great. Bad enough losing the job. I don't want to lose my best buddy, too.
Well, after losing his job and best friend in the space of 10 minutes, if you follow the guard out of the building, this will happen. So the man will end his own life. I mean, out of all the details we've seen so far, this one might be the most disturbing. Now, when it comes to disturbing, the whole of Little Nightmares 2 could feature in a video just like this one. The game is full of unsettling imagery and themes, so you might be surprised to learn that the disturbing detail from Little Nightmares 2 is a simple game of catch. During the hospital level, you can stop and take a breather, though the looming threat of very grabby hands are just a few steps away. Well, despite the sinister look of these hands, if you pick up the nearby ball, you can do this. So the hands will play catch with you, which is far from disturbing. The thing is, you do have to remember who you're playing catch with, and that's demonic mannequins determined to kill you. Now in Death Stranding, you do a lot of walking, and I do mean a lot. That's why it's important you have good footwear to protect your feet. Well, some of you may not know that you can actually explore the world of Death Stranding barefoot. Though if you do that, Sam will have trouble walking and eventually his socks will become drenched in blood. If you head inside, you can check out the damage. And a quick warning, it isn't pretty. I mean, if that didn't make you uncomfortable, I don't know what will. Now, the HEV suit from the Half-Life series is iconic. Of course, in the games, you are the one seen wearing the suit, but it's worth remembering that you wouldn't be the only person in the whole world to have that privilege. On the planet of Zen, you can find this. So it's a zombified person wearing the HEV suit. What's disturbing is that you can hear the suit freaking out as the person inside is dead, which is cool, but disturbing. If you kill one of these suit-wearing zombies, the suit will flatline. I don't know why, but the flatline sound has always made me feel uncomfortable. Right, let's end today's video with Spec Ops The Line. So by now, everyone should know that Spec Ops The Line isn't your typical third-person ooh-rah military shooter. But even if you don't, there is a way to tell that all is not as it seems. So zooming in on your character's eyes, you can see that they have a smashed glass effect, which I'm not sure if you're aware isn't how eyes are supposed to look. For those who have played Spec Ops The Line, you'll know why his eyes are this way. But if you haven't, then I really recommend playing this game. Let's just say that Walker is a broken man. When I was a kid, I was terrified of sharks. I mean, living in the UK meant that a face-to-face encounter with one was very unlikely, but that didn't stop me thinking up crazy scenarios where I could find myself one-on-one with a shark. One of these scenarios was finding a shark in a public swimming pool, which I know sounds crazy, but what can I say? I had a vivid imagination. Well, it seems that someone at Ubisoft may have had the same fear, as if you head to this location on the map in Far Cry 6, you can find this. So at this mansion, you can find a shark in a swimming pool. I mean, this entire island is kind of weird, with an underground torture dungeon found at the same spot. But when it comes to disturbing, for me personally, nothing beats a shark in a swimming pool. Now, despite being a game about brain-hungry zombies that you can mow down by the bucket load, World War Z isn't a particularly scary game. I mean, if I was in the same situation in real life, I would shit my pants. But from the comfort of my own home, it's almost relaxing shooting hundreds, if not thousands, of the undead. Though I'm not sure what that says about me. Saying that, there is a moment in the game that I did find pretty disturbing, and made me think that these mindless zombies may be zombies now, but they did used to be human. During the Moscow chapter, you have the opportunity to test some nerve gas on a group of zombies, and it goes exactly how you think it would.
What? The chamber was a makeshift testing lab before they all turned.
At least we know it works. A little bit of karma.
So, despite being dead, the nerve gas doesn't discriminate, and kills the zombies again. Later on in the same chapter, you once again have the chance to gas some zombies, but this time, something's different.
Somebody, activate the vents!
So, because these zombies are wearing hazmat suits, they aren't affected by the gas. I don't know why, but seeing zombies bashing on the glass, desperate to get to you, all the while only being protected by their suit, is pretty disturbing. Now, when you think of a fourth wall break, usually it's something funny. I mean, the best video game example that I can give is this scene from The Evil Within 2, which will never not make me laugh.
You coming with me or not?
I told you I wasn't going to leave this place. It's fucking evil out there.
That may be, but there's evil within, too.
Well, unlike The Evil Within 2, sometimes a look into the camera can be very disturbing, especially when it feels like the person in the game is talking to you. During Chapter 9 of Dead Space 2, you'll meet up with Nolan Stross, who perhaps understandably is feeling a little on edge. When Stross joins you on the lift, take a listen to what he says and where he looks.
Hey, you made it. He's staring at me, Isaac. Stross, through the holes in his head. Listen to me.
Stop staring at me! Stop it! Relax!
Isaac, we have to get out of here.
So Stross will ramble about someone staring at him, and you'd be forgiven for thinking it was just the ramblings of a madman. The thing is, Stross then looks directly into the camera and at you, and tells you to stop staring at him. Like I said, most fourth wall breaks are funny, but this one definitely isn't. Now, I mentioned in the last Disturbing Details video that I hate being sick, but there is something that I hate even more than that. and that's being sick because I'm dizzy. I know how that sounds, but being spun around for too long is a surefire way to make me at the very least feel nauseous, and at the worst, well, I'll leave that up to your imagination. Well, it turns out that even super cool secret government operatives also don't like being spun around in a circle. As in Metal Gear Solid 3, if you spin Snake around, this will happen. I mean, if it can make the boss sick, I don't feel too bad. Now, I've said before that you kill a lot of people in The Last of Us 2. But let's face it, it's no different to loads of other games on the market. I think what makes The Last of Us 2 so unique is that it feels like you're killing a person and not just someone that you need to kill to trigger a checkpoint. What I mean by this is that some of the enemies in The Last of Us 2 will scream their friend's name after you gun them down. And of course, we've even seen dogs mourn their owners. But what about if you were the last person left alive, and having witnessed either Abby or Ellie slaughter your friends, you were forced to beg for your life? Well, here is what that may look like.
Hey, come closer. Fucking look me in the eye. Fucking relax. Yeah, you got me. Your turn's coming soon. You don't have to do this. All right, just don't. Please don't. Please shut it. Oh, fuck. You really fucked me up, didn't you? Easy.
I mean, it would have been really cool if you decided to let them live and they came back later on in the story, or even in a random battle, but the fact that they beg for their life at all is pretty disturbing. Oh, and speaking of dogs that mourn owners, it turns out that The Last of Us 2 wasn't the first game to use man's best friend to make players feel bad. In Watch Dogs 2, you can find plenty of people enjoying a walk with their dog. However, if you shoot the owner, the dog will do this.
I'll catch you.
So the dog will lay next to its now deceased owner, which is really sad. Now, I don't know about you, but there is something really scary about an inanimate object moving ever so slightly that you're not sure if it even moved. It's that feeling of questioning yourself and then almost convincing yourself that you're just seeing things that makes it worse. Well, in Phasmophobia, you'll of course see a lot of spooky things. I mean, it's a game about hunting ghosts after all. The thing is, out of all the creepy things to see and do in Phasmophobia, a snowman might be the worst of the lot. During the Christmas version of the campsite map, if you stood next to this particular snowman for an admittedly long time, this would happen. So after a minute and a half of real world time, the snowman will eventually turn its head to look at you. Like I said, the speed at which the snowman turns its head really freaks me out. Because it's so slow, you're not sure if you're just imagining things. So one of the best things about Cyberpunk are the little stories that you can find scattered around Night City. Sometimes these stories aren't even connected to a mission, they're just there to make the game world feel alive. Ironically, one of the best examples of this can be found at the bottom of a river. At this location on the map, you can find an archived conversation between Susan Abernathy and Carter Smith. Reading the conversation, we can learn that Carter actually warned Susan about an attempted assassination, and as a thank you, Susan considers Carter a loose end who knows too much. Susan calls Carter a coward and even says that he'll end up begging for mercy, which is just cold when you think that Carter saved her life. Susan ends the conversation by telling Carter to jump. So at the bottom of the river, we can find the body of Carter Smith, who, fearing what Susan had in store for him, decided he would go out on his own terms. To make things even worse, and perhaps the most disturbing part of this whole situation, Carter contacted his mum for advice, but she was quick to say that he should be grateful to even have a job and just get on with it. Imagining how Carter must have felt in this moment, it's not hard to see why this is such a disturbing story. Now, much like World War Z that we talked about earlier, despite being full of zombies, Left 4 Dead 2 isn't particularly scary. But there is one discovery that I do find very disturbing. In the Last Stand campaign, you can find this.
Look out! We've got a boomer around here!
So it's a woman's body inside of a fridge. Now, the reason I find this disturbing is wondering what led to her dying here. Was she hiding from zombies but was injured beforehand and died, or was she just too scared to leave the safety of the fridge? Like I said, shooting zombies from the comfort of your own home isn't a problem, but imagine actually being in that situation. What would you do? The final disturbing detail is an all-time favourite of mine. Zombie Army 4 is a fun game about shooting zombies, which seems to have been a theme in this video. Well, if you were to take a break and pause the game on the PlayStation, this would happen.
Play with me. Come back. Where did you go?
So the controller will start speaking to you, begging you to come back. I mean, if you didn't know about this beforehand and heard this sound coming from another room, I'm guessing you would be pretty disturbed. Now, there are a lot of disturbing things to find in Fallout 76. I mean, the game is set in a nuclear wasteland, so that's to be expected. Well, one of the most disturbing things that I've seen when playing Fallout 76 is a humble bug. And it's not the kind of bug that you usually find in a Bethesda game. This is a tick, and as you can see, the radiation in the Fallout universe has seen them increase in size. Because these ticks look roided to the gills, they aren't afraid of attacking pretty much anything that crosses their path. And that includes you. The thing that I find very disturbing is what happens after one of these super ticks takes a bite of flesh. So, as you can see, the body of the tick will slowly but surely be filled with blood. That's your blood if you need reminding. I don't know why, but seeing this giant bug almost bursting because it's so full of your blood is really disturbing. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd love to play a game that lets me experience a zombie outbreak as it happens. I know that The Last of Us Part 1 shows this briefly during the game's intro, but I want to witness normal people being affected by the outbreak. Don't ask me why, I just think it would be cool. A game that does show zombies in the early stages of turning is Dying Light. The virals are people like you and me, who have only recently succumbed to the infection. Because of this, they are strong and agile, unlike the other Dying Light zombies which, well, let's just say they're not strong or agile. Well, it turns out that it's not just their human-like speed and strength that these virals have going for them. If you fight back, there's a chance that this will happen.
No! Please! No! No! Stay away! No! Please! No!
So, despite desperately wanting to eat you alive, there is still a part of a viral that remains human, as you can hear them begging for help. Imagine being human enough to know that you don't want to hurt people and to beg for help, but not being able to stop yourself bashing people's heads in. Speaking of zombies that retain their humanity, up next is the Eggcellent Dead Island 2. Now, unlike the virals from Dying Light, the suiciders in Dead Island 2 are slow and very weak. These ugly looking zombies look like they want to give you the world's biggest hug. That is, until they get close and then they explode. Think of them as Dead Island 2's take on the boomers from the Left 4 Dead games. Well, much like the virals, it seems that the human part of the suiciders is still very much intact. So you can hear the suicider saying "help me" as it slowly walks towards you. which is disturbing. Again, being human enough to know that you are now a zombie must be awful. Now, when it comes to disturbing games, I'm guessing that the Goat Simulator series isn't the first series that comes to mind. I mean, even the zombie-themed Goat Z expansion is a light-hearted take on the whole zombie outbreak thing, which makes this particular detail even more disturbing. At first glance, this pink house is locked up pretty tight, with no way inside. However, if you make your way around back, you can smash a window and climb on in. At first, things seem pretty normal. That is, until you find this room. So this empty room has several messages written on the walls, including the always ominous "you can't hide" to the even worse "you can try to shut it out, but it will always find you." The main message of this room is "you can't run, you can't hide, it is already inside. It's no use, it's too late, be prepared to face your fate." And that's it. There's nothing else to see in this house. Maybe this is left over from a cut piece of Goat Z content, or perhaps the person in this house has faced their fate. Either way, it's very disturbing. Now, so far, The Last of Us Part 2 has appeared in both of the previous Disturbing Details videos, which should tell you a lot about that game, and if it didn't, it's appearing in this one too. Clickers are perhaps the most iconic enemies in the Last of Us series. Their inability to see, combined with the always haunting clicking sound, make them a formidable foe. Though, given that they are blind, there is a way to trick a clicker into doing your dirty work. If you grab an enemy and then attract the attention of a clicker, this will happen.
Watch out!
So you can feed enemies to clickers. You know what they say, if life gives you lemons, feed them to the blind fungus-infected creature. Or something like that. Now, despite being a family-friendly video game character, and now a bona fide movie star, there is a dedicated community built around Sonic being replaced with a malicious entity that looks like Sonic but is a whole lot more evil. A game that is based off this very premise is Sonic Eyx, which is full of the usual jump scares that these games usually provide. The thing is, the scariest part of this game, well in my opinion at least, can only be seen when playing in windowed mode. Which, if you ask me, makes any game 10 times scarier, because why would anyone play in windowed mode? Anyway, when you first load up Sonic Eyx, the title of the window is called Sonic the Hedgehog Editable ROM, which is normal enough. However, the more you progress in-game, things start to get very weird. So after several messages warning you that something is coming, the game will tell you that it's watching you before typing your name. Now, it's worth mentioning that you don't enter your name at any point when playing Sonic Eyx, so the game scrapes your PC for the information just to scare you. It's disturbing, but also very clever. Now, Ready or Not is on the whole a grounded military shooter. There's none of the tacky skins and fantasy guns seen in the likes of Call of Duty. You are a serious guy doing a serious job. With that in mind, you'd think that ghosts were off the table, but that's not entirely true. On the hotel map, if you stand next to this statue, you can hear this. So after a while, the statue will whisper "hey," which is pretty scary. Now, when I first heard this "hey," I immediately thought of the spooky lobby door from Phasmophobia, where a ghost says the same thing. I don't know about you, but those "heys" both sound the same. But like I said, I don't think ghosts are in Ready or Not. I mean, I'm not saying that the two are linked, but it's certainly suspicious. Now, with the massive amount of creepy characters found in Dead by Daylight, it should be no surprise that at least one of them is hiding a disturbing detail. Sadako was added to Dead by Daylight in 2022, and is part of a ring-themed expansion that released at the same time. Now, I've said before that I find small girls really creepy. especially ones with long hair, and it's probably because of the ring that I feel this way. Well, Sadako's appearance in Dead by Daylight does little to ease my fears. At the game's main menu, if you select Sadako as your killer of choice, she will wait patiently whilst you run off and make a cup of tea, but don't leave her too long. So leaving Sadako for too long will cause her to jump scare whoever was unlucky enough to be left in the room while she went to make a brew. This is one of those details that I'd love to have been there for when someone saw it happen for the first time. Right, the final game for today's video is the excellent Project Zomboid. Now, despite loving Project Zomboid, I'm really bad at it. It turns out that actually surviving a zombie apocalypse with realistic restrictions and rules is quite hard. Well, before all of that can even happen, you will find yourself at the main menu where you can see a couple lovingly embracing. The thing is, everything is not as it seems. So, after a flash of lightning illuminates the room, we can see that the man is actually feeding on the woman. This is one of my favourite details in all of video games, purely because of how an apparently nice moment is actually really disturbing. When World War Z released, I was shocked at just how many zombies could be on screen at once, and seeing the undead build a human pyramid is always impressive. The thing is, there are so many of the undead on screen at once that seeing someone in the crowd that you knew before they became a bloodthirsty zombie is kind of hard. Well, that is, unless someone on your team becomes zombie food. You see, if a member of your team is downed by a zombie, this will happen.
Please! I can't get up!
So your teammate will rise from the dead and begin hunting you down. Now, of course, this is disturbing, especially if you liked your AI companion or if it was a friend who is now trying to take a bite out of you. But at the same time, it's also really, really damn cool. You know, come to think of it, I'm surprised that more zombie games don't feature dead allies coming back as zombies. If you do know of a zombie game that does that, then let me know in the comments. Now, in a previous Disturbing Details video, we discovered that the exploding zombies in Dead Island 2 would speak to you before going boom. So they would say hi and bye bye, which means that exploding zombies have better manners than 90% of the people that I've ever met. Anyway, the exploding zombies in the first Dead Island aren't so nice, and in fact are actually pretty disturbing. So instead of hellos and goodbyes, the exploding zombie in the first Dead Island simply asks you to help him, which for some reason is so much worse. I must admit, after playing both games pretty much back to back, I prefer the atmosphere of the original Dead Island way more than Dead Island 2. Now, if you've ever played a Fallout game, then you'll know that the world is a pretty messed up place. Pretty much from the get-go. Sure, you can spend some quality time with the family in Fallout 4, but even then that's soon interrupted by a nuclear bomb.
I love you. Both of you.
We love you too.
Oh my god!
Well, despite seeing the damage a nuclear bomb can do firsthand, in the Lonesome Road DLC for Fallout New Vegas, you can launch a nuclear bomb all of your own. Of course, being a Fallout game, you don't have to. But if you do, then the already charred remains of the world become that little bit more charred. To hammer home that it wasn't just land that you were bombing, if you visit one of the places you dropped a nuke, you can find this. So you can find the scorched outline of a person caught in the blast, and on the floor is the remains of that same person. I can't imagine how terrifying it must be knowing that a nuke is coming and you can't do anything about it. Now, the Fears to Fathom games are so scary because they could actually happen. I mean, take episode 3, titled Carson House, as an example. You play as a young kid called Noah who has to house sit for a neighbour. Of course, it's not long until things turn south and you're confronted by a crazy lady looking to introduce her knife to your throat. I mean, if I ever caught someone peeing like this in my house, then I might be annoyed too. Anyway, this lady doesn't just appear out of nowhere. She actually knows Noah, and the pair recently broke up after Kara, that's the lady by the way, became addicted to meth. Well, it appears that Kara, aka Methany, may have been watching Noah much longer than we realised. At the beginning of the game, Noah rides his bike to the grocery store, and it's here we can see this lady leaving with her shopping. Now, I know what you're thinking, what's disturbing about that? Well, nothing actually, but pay attention to the car that she drives away in. Back at the house after a bit of studying, if you look out of the window, you can see a car parked outside that wasn't there earlier, which should look familiar if you were paying attention literally 5 seconds ago. And if we flick through the cameras, you can catch a brief glimpse of a figure walking past the kitchen windows. Now, all of these details are completely missable. The game doesn't draw your attention to them in any way, which makes this even more disturbing. Eventually, you can spot the lady from the supermarket, aka Kara, aka Methany, stalking the halls of the house looking for Noah. Like I said, knowing that the scenarios in Fears to Fathom could actually happen makes the game spooky enough, but the fact that the game then drops loads of hints about what's to come, most of which you'll miss, makes it even worse. Now, I'm sure I'm not alone in being super careful about the quality of food that I eat. Especially meat. If an item is even a day past its best before date, I won't risk it. It's just not worth the trauma that comes from throwing up so hard that you feel like you're going to burst a blood vessel. With that in mind, there is a meat factory in GTA 5 that makes me question anything I've ever eaten ever. During the fresh meat mission, Michael and Franklin find themselves in a meat packing factory, where Michael is about to be turned into literal minced meat. Well, after surviving that ordeal, take a look at some of the boxes found in the factory. Now, it seems that meat is graded based on its quality, with grade B meat being sent to supermarkets, which I assume isn't that bad. Grade C is apparently deli store quality, and to be honest, I thought it would be much lower. Finally, grade E meat is fast food quality meat, which might make you think the next time you order a McDonald's. Now, I know that to some of you, they are just pixels on a screen, but I always take notice when an enemy in a game begs for their life. Of course, we've seen a really cool example of begging enemies in The Last of Us 2, but that was human against a human. What happens if you go face to face with a giant mech? When piloting a Titan in Titanfall 2, the grunts are like tiny ants, scurrying to safety from the giant death machine charging towards them. Well, if you let one of these little guys live, they will do this. So some of them will get angry knowing that the end is near, and others will just slump to the floor in defeat. I mean, be honest, what would you do? Now, I've said before that Ready or Not sees you infiltrating some truly awful places. Now, Ready or Not is a game that sees you infiltrating some truly awful places. See? I did say that. Anyway, the most awful of all these places is a luxury mansion, where some terrible things have been happening. After making your way through the mansion, which belongs to an adult film producer, you can take a look at the basement. And it's here where things get very, very disturbing. In one of the rooms are a bunch of barrels shoved into a makeshift hole. The contents of the barrels are unknown, but sitting on top of some of the other barrels in the room are children's clothes and toys. And it's hard to ignore the sound of buzzing flies hovering nearby. In another room, you can find a shelf full of DVDs, with what looks like names and ages written on them, with some of the ages on the DVDs being as young as 6. Finally, in this room, you can find a picture of a young girl with various phrases that I really don't want to say out loud. Now, I'm sure that I don't need to explain what was going on down here. And there's actually a lot of stuff that I've left out of the video because honestly, I'm not sure YouTube would like it, and I definitely don't like it. But what I will say is, this is one of the only times that I felt dirty after recording something for a video. Now, there are several moments in the Metro games where Artyom has visions. This can often lead to you, the player, trying to work out what's real and what's not. Well, during the Dead City level, Artyom once again starts seeing things, even seeing Anna before he comes to his senses. With that in mind, take a look at this. So in this long abandoned Russian metro tunnel, you can find some sort of creature in a pram, and it's breathing. Like I said, this metro has been abandoned for years, and topside is a wasteland thanks to nuclear war. So what this is and why it's still alive is a mystery. Well, it's a mystery, or it's not real and Artyom is imagining things. I don't know. Still, it's pretty disturbing. Right, let's end today's video with Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, the best thing about Red Dead 2, in my opinion, is stumbling upon a random cabin and piecing together a puzzle through notes and environmental storytelling. And that's exactly what this detail is. At this location on the map, you can find a cabin. Looking inside, the place seems abandoned. That is, until you find this. So these are the bodies of 2 children who were seemingly abandoned. However, if you take a look at a note found nearby, you can see that the mother of the children didn't abandon them at all. Instead, she went to track some men down and get the family's money back. She left 4 days worth of supplies and said that she would return. But these corpses look a lot older than 4 days, and there is still no sign of the mother. So I'm guessing that they never got their money back. If anyone knows more about this story, then please let me know, as I would love to find out who the money-stealing men were. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like is really appreciated. If you are a fan of Easter eggs and secrets in games, then perhaps consider subscribing, as that's what this channel is all about. YouTube seems to think that you'll like the video on screen now, so give that a watch, and as always, I'll speak to you all soon.